So our break is over. See, a lot of people left us. Maybe a lot of the children has left us, but we are still 80 people here, which is great to see for this last hour of the event. We're running a little bit late on the timing, but we will try to speed up or see what we can do to. Yeah, we have addressed some of the questions for the later Q&A session, but let's try to adapt and adjust to the hours. So we will move into this first session in the adult-facing part, where we will talk about challenges. So some of the challenges or issues that we've seen in engaging children in follow-up to reporting. I just, first of all, maybe we can, Fanny, can we share the presentation? Or if someone can. So meanwhile, the presentation is coming up, I hope. I'll just say that in preparing for this event, we have sought to look across the region and gathered small samples and inputs from children and adults that we work with from the targeted countries that we talked about in the beginning, to which we had interpretation. And we did that to assess some challenges in doing follow-up and reporting work. To have a more comprehensive and representative samples, we would need to do a much more broader survey update. But some of these findings are also linked to some of the things that we've heard from children and general challenges that we are aware of when we do this work. So it should also be noted that there are substantial differences across these 6 countries on the findings, depending on the level of civil society programming and also attention given by the government to this area. Okay, is there an opportunity to get the presentation up?
No, but if you remind me the name, I can do it for someone.
Yes, so it's called Marie for adult session on challenges, I think.
Okay, I will look for it. 1 second, please.
Are you finding it?
Yeah,
Probably.
it's downloading. Just 1 second, sorry.
Okay.
Is this
So,
one?
yes, yes.
Perfect.
And so, yes, just to say, as I said, we were looking at challenges and issues around how we could, as adults, support. And the first area is, or just to say that we looked across 3 dimensions. So how have children been supported and identified challenges in the child engagement from adults as well? But also, what are some of the challenges around awareness around child rights, for instance, and what are the challenges in getting access to spaces to participate for children? So one of the general and perhaps natural trends that we see is that where we have a strong civil society support and programming, children report to us in these surveys that they are able to make changes and consider that they are consulted and engaged more frequently than in countries where there has traditionally been less civil society support on the area of children's participation and also on child rights implementation. So you see here in this slide that it's kind of well illustrated. This is a survey sample from Nepal, where 88% of the children that were surveyed noted that they had support from civil society to advocate for children's rights. And Nepal is a quite strong country with strong programming on this area. So of course it's natural then that there be a lot of positive results from children in the support that they were getting. Next slide. So in relation to adult support to children, some key issues were raised. For instance, the age window for children to participate within these longer term processes. So of course we acknowledge that we work in shorter term windows than what processes often require. So these are very long processes of 5-year reporting cycles. But it also means that children we support often starts engaging when they're teenagers and then can participate, for example, for 2 to 5 years as children before they then turn 18 and then become adults or youth. And at the same time, we know that to change a policy or ensure implementation of a policy might take much longer than the 2 to 5 years that children are engaging. And we've also seen here examples today from children that have engaged even longer, but maybe usually many children would start when they are 14, 15 or 16 to engage in this work. Then there are also issues around engaging diverse groups of children, addressing the principle of non-discrimination and inclusion. We already talked about this. There were questions raised about this issue on LGBT and SOGI rights and different gender identities. But there are also other groups of children that are often more marginalized and need more support. So children and adults are frequently raising this challenge of involving diverse groups of children, as it demands that we apply specific approaches targeted to different groups of children. And we don't always have the capacity or resources to do this well. So you see here some children from Nepal, including Christina, who also presented to us, commented that not all children from different geographies or intersectionalities have the opportunity to get to access information, training, and policy consultation processes. And then also another area of development of child-friendly materials and support to child-led movements. It's often a challenge to support development of child-friendly materials and offering our support to child-led organizations, as often our materials are not co-created with children, or we don't know how to develop tools that speaks directly to children. And for that, we should be asking children. At the same time, we also struggle to design our programs to support child-led movements, as it is more complicated and much more resource intensive to support children's own organizations and movements. But we have seen some attempts, for instance. You see here from the Korean survey, there was a sample. In the sample that we collected, 70% of children did not know of any child-led organization existing at local or national level. So there is also kind of either it doesn't exist or there's a lack of awareness around whether it exists or not. Yes, next slide, please. And then moving to the next challenge around lack of awareness about child rights by children and by government authorities and workers. It was also identified that governments are not providing sufficient awareness raising publicly on child rights and on reporting and follow-up work obligations that they have as a government. And governments only sporadically or very infrequently educate children about their rights. For instance, as you see here in the example, in Japan, they did a survey last year that showed that only 22% of teachers said that they understood children's rights well. There is a need to understand better and much more education done on this work also with teachers. And child rights movement does not always join forces on child rights implementation, or they work in silos or without coordination. For instance, many organizations work on different thematic issues, whilst we should try to also work more jointly. And media does not give preference to children to show their views, or to share their views, sorry. And if they are being able to share their views, it's mainly in those cases where they are supported by adults. So adult supporters like you from civil society that pave the way for them to access media of course, social media is often an easier area for children to access. And then next slide, please. And then spaces to participate in public decision making is another area where we see challenges. The lack of spaces for children to be systematically engaged in decision making is a crucial area. And also government's trust of children's opinion as being valid is also a high concern. We heard this raised also by children already today, that governments question their opinions, or they question that they should even be there. So children feel they can participate when civil society arrange meetings and sessions with government, but those spaces are not led by government, or they are not happening systematically as part of an ongoing process, but more based on ad hoc setups and any available programming that we have as civil society to support that. So you see here also children from Nepal from these surveys were saying that civil society organizations have been supporting to engage children in public decision-making processes, but government is still reluctant to engage them. And also, as Vesna was sharing, often governments are questioning children's engagement. When Vesna said to us that local authorities interrogate and ask many questions to children when we do follow up. Yes. So looking at these challenges and some of the things that we need to address as adults, we also wanted to offer some suggested solutions from our side. So I will hand it over to Amihan to talk about some suggested solutions for the first challenge. And next slide, please.
Well, yeah, there's some solutions written in this slide, but I think what it means is that we really have to widen the whole space for children to participate, so that child participation doesn't just become related to the UNCRC reporting process, for example. If we can make child participation as something that's done within the family, within the schools, with the health workers, everywhere where the child is, if all the people working with children could understand that child participation, just asking the child how we're explaining to the child why he has to take this medicine and what this medicine will do for him, and trying to get the child to interact, that will really help to make child participation something normalized or mainstreamed in the whole society. So that means that the children have a longer time to participate. We have to work with people working on early childhood, for example, to understand what is child participation during early childhood, so that you have a longer period for children to start getting used to participating. And then also that you see this as a continuum. So when they grow older, they're not going to leave the other younger children, that they become part of that. It becomes a way of living. You know, when children learn to help each other, to become kinder to each other, to work in solidarity with each other, I think that's when we actually talk about child participation in action. So when children feel this way, that, you know, they're concerned about the other children and themselves, then it becomes also easier for them to understand that many children are different, and they're still children, and they should also have a chance. So that's why I think it's really a question of how we transform the way we think of child participation, that it's not just one aspect of our work, but it has to go through all the things that we do. So I think that's it, and it really can start earlier. I'm just reflecting on my own life, and I realized that my dad never asked me, what's your grade? What did you get? What was your score in school today? He always asked me, did you say something in school today? And I think that's the kind of attitude, you know, that we welcome, that the children express their ideas. And then if the children see that we actually take their ideas seriously, they will be even more encouraged. So I think there's really many ways to address this. And of course, on the slide, you already see this, but my point is, well, really have to mainstream. Child participation is as basic as food or as having a good health. for example, or being able to go to school. Child participation makes the enjoyment of all these other rights even more meaningful. So thank you, Marie, for giving me a chance to respond to these challenges.
Thank you so much, Amihan. And then we'll turn to the next slide to hear from Mikiko.
Thank you so much. So firstly, I think the awareness about the child rights. So I think it's not just about the lack of awareness about child rights, but also children should learn about the child rights report opportunity for them. So though the Committee on the Rights of the Child make a recommendation to all the state parties when we review the country reports that the government should include child rights education in the school curriculum and disseminate more information about the child rights and the Convention on the Rights of the Child. However, I'd like to emphasize that the awareness raising efforts by the government and civil society in the school and out of school in the media should also include child rights reporting, so that children can know that not only about their rights, but how their rights can be realized in a reality. And child rights report is one tool so they can use. So I think this is the very important point. And I just came to my idea came to my mind that the committee, when we adopt the concluding observation to the countries, we also include one paragraph asking the states parties to disseminate the concluding observations. Maybe we should think about, as a committee, to include a little bit further recommendation to the state parties for the next reporting, toward the next reporting, the child rights reporting procedure should be also disseminated to the children. I also want to bring up the one issue, which was also mentioned by previous speakers in the previous section, that the children's rights movements and discussions should be connected with other general human rights agenda and mechanisms, such as other treaty bodies, UPR, and any discussion about the gender, disability, civic space, environment, etc., and also SDGs, because these are the opportunity to enhance the awareness about the child rights in a broader discussion and mechanism. Secondly, this is from my own observation about the media in Japan, and I guess it is also the case in other countries as well. When I hear any children's issues discussion in the media, I rarely hear that commentators, newscasters mention the Convention on the Rights of the Child or use the term child rights. Though we very often see the media discussing about the child-related issues. So I'd like to suggest one solution to connect any child issues, problems to be connected with the child rights and the Convention on the Rights of the Child, and share the information that to solve those issues, actually the convention is a tool, a legal instrument, and also there is a UN reporting procedure. So this is important. Finally, media. Yes, media is very important, and Article 17 of the Convention on the Rights of the Child particularly talks about the important role of media. So my suggestion is children can use social media more effectively than us adults. So children should be encouraged to use the social media safely, and also maybe we can reach out the so-called influencer, because they have a power to reach out the children and also young people. And so we should also work together with young people because they know how to effectively use social media very well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mikiko, for these reflections. Yeah, it makes total sense. I will hand it over to Fanny to talk about the last solution. Maybe we do this a little quicker, Fanny, because we definitely want to hear from our civil society partners, and we're running a little late. Thank you.
Yes,
So next
sure.
slide.
Thank you, Mary. So the next challenge is on spaces for children to participate in follow-up work with governments. So we have to make children's rights to participate a priority in our work and support children to advocate for more systematic spaces within government spaces. So at national and provincial levels, we should support the setup of child parliaments or similar structures where children can follow up to the CRC reporting and be consulted by governments on their needs for specific action plans to implement observations and recommendations regularly. And at local level, supporting child municipal clubs with monthly meeting with local governments and linked to child-friendly global governance programs and initiatives. And finally, we should push for laws with children and mandatory participation with governments so that children are consulted on the issues that are of concern to them, and that participation frameworks and guidelines are developed to guide the actions of government. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fanny. Yes, and with these kind of overall suggested solution from our side, we will now hand over to hear from our civil society partners. So adult supporters to children on how they're doing this work more in practice. So we have Guarao KC from Consortium Nepal. We have Maria Olivia Burgers from Save the Children Philippines, and Mary Ain Padoga from Unang Hakbang, and who is also a member of the CSC Coalition Philippines. And finally, we have Lai Yan from CSC Cambodia. They will talk to us about how they as adult organization have supported children, and will touch us also on some of these challenges that we just highlighted. So let's first hear from Guarao. So if we can get Guarao's presentation up. Guarao will share with us about their child-led work, how they facilitated reporting and follow-up, and also learning and strategies on how to overcome challenges. Please share with us, Guarao.
Thank you. Namaste and greetings from Nepal. I'm Gaurav KC, currently working as a program coordinator in consortium of organizations working for child participation. And it's my pleasure to be here in this beautiful event as a presenter. I'll be sharing my experience on CRR from Nepal. Next, please. So talking about Consortium Nepal, where I'm working now, it was established with the recommendation made by a research in 1999. Research with more than 300 child clubs all over Nepal was conducted by Save the Children Norway and US. Now having a motto of child participation from family to state, Consortium Nepal has 91 member organizations working in the child rights or participation all over 7 provinces. Next, please. Children's engagement in the reporting process is crucial. Consortium Nepal, being a network working for the child participation, facilitated the process of submitting a child-led UNCRC report in 2014. And it was 3rd, 4th, and 5th combined periodic report from Nepal. It was the first ever child-led report from Nepal in 2014. At that time, our dilemma was there, and a discussion was made among the campaigners whether children could share their report to the UNCRC committee or not, as this was the first ever report from Nepal. Most of the child rights experts from Nepal recommended going forward with the children's engagement in the report. Children from Nepal successfully submitted the report. Also, one boy and one girl physically participated in the pre-session at Geneva, and a history was created. Consortium Nepal continued this historic achievement and facilitated the girl-led report in 2018, child-led report to UPR in 2020, and again, children from Nepal are in the process of submitting the report to UNCRC committee. A final report sharing meeting from children has been scheduled for the coming week, and it will be submitted to UNCRC committee by the end of, I think, middle of June. One interesting factor I like to share here, what I see during the process is a write-up leader from Gawler SIDA report, Miss Neha Gurung, was there as a technical advisor in UPR report in 2020. And the write-up leader of UPR, Miss Mandira, was there as a technical advisor in UNCRC report. With this, it helped to create a legacy in between the children and also helped to fulfill the vacuum. Next, please. In this slide, as I already mentioned, Consortium Nepal has 91 member organizations along with the provincial committees. Utilizing this strength, we coordinated with all the CSOs all over the country. A simple guideline was prepared on the CRR reporting process in Nepali with the objective whoever sees the guideline can lead the session in their respective local levels. We also collaborated with the local and provincial government. Ministries related to the children were invited in the provincial events, which created the feeling of ownership among government agencies. With the continuous follow-up, I think Krishna also mentioned this, Modest province along with some other local level endorsed the child participation guideline as well. We also linked the activities of National Child Advocate Council with the local level governments, as mentioned by Christina and Dipendra. The Children's Council has been formed as a common platform of children to advocate on children's concern among different stakeholders by using children's civic right and freedom of expression. Next, please. Next. Next, as I have a time limitation, I'd like to move to the learning section. Trying to shorten my presentation. The major learning I'd like to share here is that children also can play a good role of advisor. National Child Advocate Council members, as I mentioned in the previous slide, were given the role of monitoring whether the provincial and local level consultations are following the child-led process or not. The member of NCAC sometimes gave the suggestions through the lens of children. Also, children themselves set the format of formal report write-up. It is interesting that they set the format of what we see and what we want in the report, separating the 4 pillars of child rights. The children write-up team divided the role among themselves and start writing the report. Next slide please. So in the challenge section, resource limitation was the major challenge, and we collaborated with different CSOs and member organizations to overcome it. Government agencies always think that the child participation is not a big issue to work with. This traditional mindset is always a barrier for child participation, and continuous meeting and follow-up with them, mobilization of child club makes it easy to deal with this challenge. Another challenge is that we always focus and try to give our best in submitting the report, and the follow-up part seems weak. This time we are strongly working in the follow-up by recognizing the needs to follow-up work with children and CSOs. The reporting process itself is a long process. This time it took us 9 months to prepare the final report, which was started from the provincial consultation in August 2022. We developed a calendar considering the school time, festivals and all. And of course, using different tools, retreat, brainstorming and games in the middle of the program always made children feel refreshed and concentrated to the program. I still remember the provincial consultation of Bagmati. A visit to Pashupati temple was scheduled in the morning, where the group of children suddenly met the popular mayor of Kathmandu, Balen, at Pashupati, and everybody started taking selfies with him. They were posting photos all the day on their Facebook, smiling and in a happy mood. The small things we do can make a huge difference, and of course, this works during all our process. Next, please. So, the formal writing by children is connected with the daily campaigns Children Do or Children Lead. Consortium Nepal has a unique practice of formatting Children's Advisory Board, where a group of children engage to recommend or suggest Consortium Nepal in its program. From their lens, I think it helped them to build their capacity to think out of the box. Also, we see children as our partner. We co-design, co-work, co-rewrite and co-facilitate with the children in different events. Campaigns like If I Were a Mayor, Bal Vela in the local level, and memorandum handover to local leaders make them prepared for this process, overall process I am talking. Also, participation of children in school management committee, health management committee, and different structure of local level help children to realize their strength, which at the end help to promote their leadership and motivate them to write the report. As I was separated 7 minutes only, I'd like to stop my presentation here because of the time limitation. Over to you, the host. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Guarao, and thank you for those great insights on how you overcome challenges as well. And I think it's really important that we also kind of identify those challenges that we see in our local context to be able to address those as well. So yes, I will now hand it over to Maria Olivia and Mary Ayin from the Philippines to share the presentation. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Marie. Good day, everyone. I'm Olivia Burgos from Save the Children Philippines, but I'm also here representing the Philippines CRC Coalition. I'm hoping that you could see the presentation slide by now, and I will
Yes.
proceed. So we are sharing the experiences from the Philippines involving children in CRC reporting. Thank you very much for inviting us to present our experience. So the Philippine CRC Coalition is actually made up of 24 members in the Philippines, of which Save the Children Philippines is one of them. And for child-informed reporting in the Philippines, we have worked with Children Talk to Children Network. You've met 2 of the members earlier. In the past 12 years in preparation for the 5th and 6th reporting of the Philippines to the UNCRC. So to ensure that children are meaningfully engaged, these had been our strategies. We are conscious of reaching the most marginalized and those impacted by inequality and discrimination. And we also make sure that children's inputs coming from consultations, from their feedback to us, are included in the NGO Alternative Report. And of course, when the children were able to come up with their Filipino Children's Report, we referenced them in the Alternative Report. Also, during the pandemic, which was a major hindrance as shared by the kids earlier, we conducted consultations for them to ensure that child rights monitoring will continue even with all the limitations presented by the pandemic. And we also use the evidence from other human rights monitoring reports informed by children. So for example, in the past 3 years, children's inputs are included in the SDGs monitoring and the voluntary national review that we submit to government. Okay, so in the Philippines, the experience of C2C and the CRC Coalition is that we have been working together to ensure that they are able to monitor child rights situation in the Philippines. So they have mentioned earlier, Jemo mentioned that they have conducted children's consultation, and hand in hand with that, of course, is campaigning and advocacy, including orientation, and they would be invited to events as youth, and then they would be called to government meetings, just like what Jemo said, so that they would be able to share their perspective and carry the issues that they really prioritize as children, gathered from all over the regions of the Philippines. So in the Philippines, we have the Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao regions. So they actually went around just to make sure that all, or most at least, would be gathered. This all were consolidated in the children's report submitted by the children in 2021. And through this report, they were also able to present it to the UNCRC committee in the children's session. And now that the concluding observations is out, last 2022, the focus now is on preparing to share the translated CON recommendations in our Filipino language, or in Tagalog. Now, for the experience itself, I would like to give you the rep from the field, from the community. I think that's because we believe that's it's a process that we really need to take a look at. We invited Mary Ayin, who's also here with me, also from CRC Coalition, from the organization Unang Hakbang Foundation, to share about her experience in supporting children in the process. Ayin, I turn it over to you.
Hello, good day, everyone. Yeah, as an adult support, of course, you should know, or I should know what is children's right. So, learn first about children's right, and ask yourself if you are willing to advocate, because you need to accept and understand oneself about what you are doing or what is the important, and are you willing to continue helping children. And of course, and as an adult support also, appropriate training or more learning training for us and an adult support is very important, because as an adult support, the children will come to us and ask some questions. At least we can answer, or we can really we can support them, so that you can be an equipped adult support. No, then during activities of children, as an adult support, before the activity, during, and even after the activities, adult support should be there, because sometimes there are children who wanted to not to participate. So, and as an adult support, you can talk to the child, or you can talk to the children you are supporting, and if there are clarifications, questions, like what we did today. So as an adult support, if they can't understand words or want clarification, you should be there. And after the activity and assessment, it is very important to assess them if it's difficult to them to understand. Is there uh, another way for them to participate or to understand well? Then the key role also is as an adult support. You will I am as an adult support, you also guide the children. You also communicate, and for the child safeguarding, because as an adult support, I am also going to talk to the parents, and as well as the child, if what the activity is all about. And we have also a consent forms and assent form, so for them to understand what activity they are going to join. And also, there is no perfect ingredients to become an adult support, or the a perfect adult support. The important thing is, we should not forget, in supporting children, when they are participating, we must consider the CRC guiding principle: the best interest of the child, the right children to survival and development, especially the right of children to express their views freely in all matters affecting to them. So yun, as long as you are aiming to protect, or you are there to protect the children while they are engaging, so that's it. That's the best thing as an adult support. Thank you. I will call Miss Olive.
Yes, thank you very much,
It's
Aileen.
Tina
And
as
I
well.
would like, thank you so much for that sharing. And if I may share also, Aileen, something you said that really resonated with me. We are, as adult supports, not just companions. We are not nannies to the children to tell them, oh, don't get into trouble, okay? We are there as informed adults. And we work better if we are also in a group of informed adults. So that's why she said, do not be afraid to ask help from others. And in the case of C2C, they are supported by children adult support team. So it's a whole team that is supporting them. Thank you very much again, Aileen. Now, we were also asked a question about inclusion and diversity, and I would like to share something from the experience of Save the Children Philippines in other programs, but also cuts across, including into our CRR guidelines. I don't think I need to delve too much on the knowing the basics, because we are all aware. We have to check the language, the material sensitivity, the kind of diversity. If you have LGBTQI, are you dealing with children with disabilities or children from indigenous communities, so that you would also be able to check your capacity, if you can accommodate them, if it's within your capacity, and if not, as Ayin said, ask help from other adults. We also would like to share that, of course, model inclusivity ourselves. because children will always respond to actions more than words. And aside from an inclusivity orientation where diversity is discussed and honored, the children are also encouraged to reflect on the situation of other children, especially those impacted by inequality and discrimination, and realize amongst themselves, by themselves, how it resonates with their own issues and it actually connects with what they are fighting for. There's also the diversification of platforms. And as adult support, we have many instances where we need to be the one to help children push for this, because the platforms and engaging the children should be as diverse as they are. We cannot just make one platform and expect everyone, all the children, to engage in it equally and meaningfully, because there will always be children who might need extra needs or support rather. For example, for children with disabilities, it might mean more considerations on their logistical and accessibility needs. And for example, the LGBTQ, this might need acknowledging their perspectives on issues on gender and what a safe space is. And then lastly, we would like to share about always getting feedback, because the CRR systems, as we are happy to have experienced, is not immovable. Now, there's some very real movement happening here. And we ask the children their feedback on how their participation went, and then we consolidate this and make sure it reaches the global processes. Or for example, in this case, the Child Rights Connect is very keen to hear about children's experiences, and they take this very seriously. So that's our experiences, and if there's anything that we would like to close this with is, let's not work as adult support alone. Let's all be in this together. Thank you very much, and we give it back to you, Mary.
Thank you so much, Olive, and yeah, for those great insight, and especially on the inclusion aspects and how that we need to support children in an ongoing way. And I think those were really useful insights. We only have a very few time left, and I will see that we will hear from Lai now from CSC Cambodia, but we don't, unfortunately, will have time for the Q&A. We can come back to that afterwards, but let's hear from Lai. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And good evening or good morning to everyone. Nice to meet you. I'm live from Charai Coalition Cambodia, and Charai Coalition Cambodia, we are members-based organization. And today I may also just short present regarding to what we are support to child and youth regarding to the concluded observation, as you will see here. The booklet that we developed under the support from consultant expert and also from our technical advisor, and also with the support from our organization member. And this book also now in the process to publicate that we need to be ensure about the meaningful to share to our child and youth also with our first one. Okay, and this booklet we also designed into two languages, regarding to the English and also with the local language of my language, because we need also to ensure about the understanding of our child regarding to the child-friendly version. And actually we also summarize the content in my also summarize and also revert from the concluding observation in partnership with the children in Cambodia. Because we could not 100% to translate from English to Khmer, so we need to cut it, to revert or to summarize it, but the meaning still be the same. Yes, first one. Okay, in the Khmer content was for the contextualize for the Cambodian and children by with the consultation with our team. Actually, during we design this booklet, we also involved with our child and youth. We call Child and Youth Steering Committee, that they can involve in the process and also provide the key input or their perspective regarding to the booklet that they want to see and what is the necessary point that need to be included. Okay, next slide. Yeah, as many of our present here regarding to the challenge when we are support to our child and youth to develop the kind of the child-friendly methodology or child-friendly plate. This I also just summarize a key challenge that we meet during our process to support them. The first one regarding to the key message accurate and easy to understand. These also the challenge when we are capture or need to design the concluding observation after the Charai issue or UNCLC issue the recommendation to the state party. And we also identify the way or how we deal with the challenge. Actually, we have consult other child-friendly document and guideline from supervision and advice. That means we, among our team, we have UPR steering committee and also that means a concluding observation steering committee and also with our child and youth committee and with also with our member to be ensure about the child friendly, and we also use other document child friendly from other side, like in the link we can also click the link after that means the guidance from Save the Children and also from other like from World Bank that we include here, that they more in detail about the how to write a child friendly methodology or how to write a child friendly document. And we also repeat consultation with our child to get their feedback, because this point is also the important point, because when we do the document for the child, we need to be into the involvement from them. And after we collect the input from them, we also get the feedback from them to ensure about the validate of the information that we need to include into the booklet. Yeah. And actually, this we also give a tip like a flat enough time for repeat of consultation, because we need to read rather than the input collection, we also need to ensure the input also validate from our perspective of child. And about the next challenge regarding to the provide right amount of information, we also need to be ensured, because we need to be more accurate about the information that we need to include in our concluding observation friendly booklet. And we also identify the key methodology to address those challenges. We get into the mean, as I mentioned, we create or we form up our child and youth steering committee that they can engage in the full process of the child friendly booklet design. So they can provide any perspective or any input, and we also provide the right balance of information, because we also group in different age, different age, because we need to ensure the booklet can be friendly for the range of age, like from 8 to under 18. So this is the booklet. And we also include in the booklet like a short summary with the easier terminology, because need to know to ensure about the terminology used in this booklet, as many terminology need to be categorized or to be translated. And a longer version with more detail. That means we need to be thought about the long version we also have, but we also have the short version that can include the meaningful of those of the recommendation. And we also link to the original document, that means the original document that is issued by the UNCLC to the state party in Cambodia. So we also link to those kind of documents. And English translate of the text in parallel to Khmer. That means some words we need to be sure about the meaningful, but as I mentioned, we are not 100% translate from the English, but the meaning is still the same. That means in the child-friendly method that our child can read and can know more about those of the meaning of the recommendation. And a short introduction into the booklet, highlight role of child. That means we also have the short summary from to highlight the role of children in Convention on Right of the Child reporting. That's the main way that we include with our booklet. And for the next one, regarding to the image, that means the drawing picture. The drawing picture that we use into this booklet is not for the doctoration, but we need to be understand about the meaning. We give more the meaning out. Rather than that, we can have use image for the meaningful for the children to know. And we also today we rather than developing new, we also use proven available resource. That means we have drawing picture from other resource, like icon from child-friendly version of contribution, and also image from other source like from UNICEF, from Plan International, and also from Child Rights Foundation. Next slide. Okay, and this is also the way forward that after we design or we have the full version of child-friendly version on the concluding observation, we also have the way forward in CSC Cambodia and also with our member and child lead network. We will use this facilitate meaningful child participation in this way. That means we have used this work for disseminate to our member and also with child and youth, because right order that can know more about the concluding observation, and also we can manage to reflect about the progress of the implementation from the state. And we also integrate concluding observation in child and youth lead network advocacy plan. And that means some article or some recommendation from the concluding observation, we can also support, status support in terms of technical to support our child and youth to include or to integrate or to meaningful mainstreaming of the recommendation in their advocacy strategic plan. Because our child and youth, they also have the annual conference, and then they can mainstream, they can share, they can join about the advocacy together. And we also to facilitate their participation in the Universal Parenting Youth, we call UPR. Because now CSC Cambodia, we also in the process to reflect on the third cycle of the UPR from state party and also develop 4 cycle to submit. So the process, and we also need to ensure the participation from the child and youth in the process, and we also need to ensure about the safety when they are engaged in this platform. And about the UPR, we also need to ensure about the smart recommendation, because we are not focused on human rights, but we just focus on the child right. And some recommendations we need to be ratified and monitored. And just so we have a roadmap as a full support from our technical advisor and our member. We also develop a concluding observation roadmap for civil society for 2022 to 2027. And this roadmap we are outlined with the main 4 pillars, as we have see in the slide presentation regarding to the civil society follow-up and coordination. The way that we have worked with our member and also with our child to follow up, and other collaborate with the government, like we also plan to provide public budget investment for child rights and other training to the relevant ministry and government officer. And also we have need to be ensured about child participation. This is also the main point that we need to do together. And CSC Cambodia and with our member, we also provide a dissemination workshop to our child and youth. And also recently we just conducted dissemination workshop to our child and youth in different provinces around 500 children who are involved for the dissemination workshop. Yeah. Next slide. Maybe this was the last slide. So
Live? Can I? Yes.
Okay.
I think we are 5 minutes over time in this 3-hour
Okay,
round.
yeah.
So I think probably we have to end. But thank you so much for these great reflections. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
it's so applaudable that you are doing these child-friendly versions and sharing, and also linking them to your advocacy plan. So that's really amazing work. And thank you so much for sharing with us. I think we unfortunately we ran out of time, as we do with these events, where it's so interesting to hear. We have been so fortunate to hear from children, to from our partners as well, on how you've supported children. I want to thank all our speakers, all our facilitators, presenters. It's been such a pleasure to hear from you, and I hope this is not the last event where we can exchange more learnings and practices amongst ourselves and join forces. So just as a few closing remarks, we will come back to you with any other Q&A. If you have other questions, you can also send them to us. But definitely as closing remarks, we need to facilitate much more work with children on follow-up and reporting. And we need to support children to learn from other children and civil society organizations in other countries by having these spaces. We should focus our programming and advocacy to include children in follow-up, and resources are definitely needed continuously. So not just when we're reporting, but also when we're doing follow-up. Systematic spaces for consultation and hearing children are definitely needed, and something we also as civil society should be working much more on in the future. And I hope we can definitely join forces. I know CRC Asia, Child Rights Connect, and Save the Children, and many partners and civil society organizations want to really collaborate with you. We want to join forces and continue our collaboration as much as possible. So yes, any final words from you, Amihan?
Just to say thank you, Mary, for pushing us forward. I just want to say to all our friends here in Asia, CRC Asia is here, and we're very happy to work with you. And we're looking forward to working with the young people, the children themselves. So we'll try to create more opportunities for everyone to get to meet and learn from each other. And so thank you so much and have a great day.
Thank you, Amihan. Fanny, do you have any final words to say? Chair?
Thanks, Mary. Because we lack of time, I will just also mention that Child Rights Connect is here to support any civil society stakeholders, including children, about how to engage at the UN level. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Fanny. And thank you to you and Amihan and others from Child Rights or CRC Asia to plan this event. Thank you so much to Mikiko Tani for joining us, helping us answer questions. There are still unanswered questions, and we will come back to you in writing with some of these. And there was also a question in the chat about sharing links, these useful links, and we will, of course, gather them up in documents to share with you so you can access it after the event. So thank you, everyone. Have a good night in Asia and a good day to the rest of you. And thank you so much for joining. Take care.
Goodbye.
Bye.